This episode of the All Automotive Podcast is brought to you by our friends at GeForce Automotive. GeForce Automotive is a certified service center through Auto Value. Want to make an appointment? Go to their website at www.geforceautomotive.net. Click on the banner that says Make an Appointment and make your appointment today. And now, the next episode of the All Automotive Podcast. All right, welcome back to another episode of the All Automotive Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Clausen, and I'm really excited. Today we've got a guest. We've got Bobbie DuMelle. She's the senior executive at a company called CTEK. And what they do is they have equipment that helps you charge your battery. And we're going to talk to her today. And I'm going to start this whole show off with, tell us your story. Well, how did you get into the automotive?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and appreciate what you're doing for our industry with your educational pieces. So it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
When I've been in the business for over 20 years, and I've enjoyed working with CTEK since 2014. And it's really exciting to be around evolving technology and to see an industry evolve the way we have.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sorry if I misspoke on your official title, but I know you're way up there, so apologize
it's the EVP for North America.
Oh, no, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So great. And then when did you realize that you wanted to work in the automotive industry? I know for me it was kind of young, but when did you realize that?
Well, after teaching, so probably in my 20s, I sort of fell into an opportunity that just took its path into the technology and then rocking cars. So once you see all these beautiful cars and stuff, you're hooked.
Yeah. And for me, it was at a really young age too. And so I grew up around cars, and it was, that's what we were doing. And at 12, 13 years old, we were pulling engines out of cars and doing things in the backyard. Not to sound weird or anything, but I mean, it was the 80s. So, stranger things happen anyway. So you said you were a teacher?
Yes,
prior to
I was teaching 3rd and 4th grade before I came into the industry.
Oh, wow. That's interesting, because my wife, believe it or not, she was a second grade teacher for a number of years. And then position opened up in 5th grade, and she was worried about taking it. And so anyway, she taught the same set of students twice.
That's what happened with me, because I taught 3rd and 4th grade.
So it took a couple of years.
Are you going to teach 5th grade too? Like, no, you're done with me anyway.
and that's a good experience for you to have too, because now, I mean, getting used to talking to little kids is I tell her I couldn't do that job but some days I guess I feel like I talk to little kids when people come into the shop. However, it's got to be.
But there is a bridge, right? Because when you teach, it requires patience. And so does dealing with automotive, right? Because something is never as straightforward as it could or should be all the time.
Right. Okay, so great. I mean, that's something. I mean, being a teacher, I tell my wife every day, I was like, I don't know how you do it. And 5th graders are just little 6th graders. And she tells me all the time that she doesn't want to teach middle school, and she would never do that again, because one of the years that she started out teaching, she was in the middle school. However, but she's a smart cookie, and she gets things done. So it takes a unique person to be an elementary teacher, and I'm glad that you shared that with us. So tell us about how your day goes. You get up in the morning, you do your normal routine, you get to work. How's that go?
No, it's not normal. It is never Groundhog Day. There are no 2 days that are ever alike. It's always an adventure. So normally the days start out with my European colleagues because our global headquarters is located about 2 hours north of Stockholm. So I have UK and German colleagues, etc. So usually things start there, and then we kind of work through challenges and opportunities that are of the day or continuations of, and things that we're working on for not just now but in the future. We work with a lot of OEs, so you would be hard pressed to name an elite car manufacturer that is not doing business with CTEK. So this insight gives us not only a window into today but what's coming, which we put into our CTEK branded products also. So there's always something new going on and some insight that we get that makes us better or challenges us to be better. And then of course, North America opens up, and its customers and its end users, et cetera. And we get involved with everything there, making sure shipments go out and everything North America. And then we kind of end the day with China and Australia. We bring products in
Wow.
from China, and then we're a global company, so I have colleagues in Australia as well. So that's kind of it, and I learn something new absolutely every day,
I
and I'm
bet.
challenged with something new every day. So it's fun and exciting and never boring.
Oh, that's got to be exciting and fun. And I know from just getting back from the UK a couple weeks ago. I mean, I'm on Eastern time, you're on Central time, and we live in America, so we've been talking about that. So, their day's almost over when our day's starting, and then you're talking about talking to people in China and Japan later on in the day because our day's ending and their day's starting. So I could see where that would present a challenge for you on a daily basis, and certainly being in the position that you're in, man, that would be. Hey, we need to talk to Bobbie. Well, it's 6 hours ahead of time, and
Well, and we're kind of all in the same boat. It's not just me. So colleagues that have, you can kind of tell as markets open up, because the calls intensify depending on who's open. But all of our colleagues go through that, and we're just very respectful of each other. We throw a text out there, and if you answer, great. That means you're up late and we can talk. And if you're not, then it carries to the next day. So it's really good to work with a team of people that have that ultimate respect for each other.
that's intriguing too to me because it's like I'm up and I'm around until at least 11 o'clock my time, and I think if I was doing that position like you were, it's certainly let's get some work done because I'm you might not be awake when I'm at the office, and it's just at the end of the day we're all on the same team, and that's great. So CTEK, you guys make battery chargers. So
We don't just make battery chargers, we make solutions for battery management. So it's more than that. It's not just a charger company, it's a battery management solution company.
okay, so I had the chance to get on your website, and it's CTEK.com.
Right. And in North America, a quick link is smartercharger.com.
Oh, Smarter Charger. Okay. Yeah, and that links you to that site. Correct. And I had the opportunity to look at the little YouTube video that was on there, and I was really impressed with this. It's not a jump box. It's a battery charger that doesn't plug in anywhere. So
It's actually a 4-in-1 product.
yeah, and it's really cool. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But
Sure.
what I wanted to talk about, and I've talked about this on several of my different episodes, is we live in Michigan. She lives in Illinois, Chicago area. It gets cold up here, folks, and our batteries don't take the cold, and they also don't take the heat. So talk about some of the stuff that your company does to help customers or people with their batteries in the summertime.
Well, we have skill-based training, and that is something that CTEK does for internal and external. So on YouTube, you'll see a lot of how to take care of your battery, and we also have helpful news tips on the sites as well. But the biggest thing everybody thinks about is my battery doesn't work in the winter. It's actually the heat that does the most damage to the battery. So if it's not stored in a cooler place, anytime you have an opportunity to park in the garage or park in a shady area, you're helping your battery actually. And another killer in the summer is if you take short trips. So you think about all the computers that are in your car. There are more computers in your car than there is in a fighter jet. So just think about that for a moment and think about all the computers that boot up and get ready. If you're taking a short trip, let's say you're just 5 miles from work and you're maybe 5 miles to the store or wherever else you're going, everything is a short trip. All those computers have to boot up and then they also have to shut down. And they all don't shut down just because you
Right.
shut the engine off, right? There's still consumers working. So when you do that and the temperatures are extremely hot, you're making matters worse. So you'll just start to degrade your battery, and eventually, when winter does set in and it gets cold, it takes more energy to start a cold battery than it does to start a warm battery. So when you go to crank that engine in the winter, you're not going to have enough power to do so because of all the things that happened in the summer.
And as the technology advances in the cars, and you're right, there are several modules. And one of the things, and I was an electrical technician back in my day, and one of the things with parasitic draws, and that's something that we have to wait 20 to 45 minutes, up to an hour maybe, for all the modules to power themselves down and say, go to sleep.
Exactly. And if your key is in your pocket and you're walking around your garage, that key fob is continually reading. And so your battery is excited because a computer is waking up because you're giving it an alert. So little things like that, and also keeping your um, let's say your phone charger plugged in, or the kids haven't finished a movie yet, so they want to sit in 15 more minutes to finish off the movie in the back seat, and
Oh,
you've
wow.
got
Yeah, that's a
the
big one.
power shut down, right? So if there's a 12-volt socket also that's alive and you've got your phone charger plugged in, that's still charging. So even if you shut everything down and you have power working, you're drawing from that battery.
Right. And just so our listeners are aware, when you have that cigarette lighter plugged in or you're next to your car, like you were talking about with your fob, the body control module is awake. That wakes up possibly the radio because there's no more buzzers in the car. The radio creates the ding dong bell in the car now when your door's open. And then it wakes up some other module, maybe the RKE module, and all these things talk to each other. So once one wakes up, everything starts going around on a tree. It's like when you plug your Christmas lights in at winter, and at Christmas time, it's like all of them are strung together, right? You plug one end in, they all light up. So yeah, that's
Exactly.
a good point that you brought up, and and one of
When
the
you, sorry.
go ahead.
If you're loading the car the night before, let's say you're getting ready to go camping or you're going on a trip the next day. So you've got the car doors open and you've got the trunk open, and let's say you're doing packing in between. Those lights on are causing a parasitic draw also.
Right, right, and that takes power away from the battery, and then your charging system. And I've said this before on another podcast too, is that your alternator, your generator on your vehicle, is not intended to charge your battery. It's intended to provide the electrical platform, the electrical level platform. Let's just say it's 14 volts when it's running. I know everybody, it's a 12-volt system, but it goes from 12 volts to 14 or so. So when it's running, it's at that level, but it's intended to keep your battery charged, not recharge it.
Correct. And if you're doing short trips, that generators or that alternator is really not doing much, right?
Right. And in summertime, it's like it's hot in the car, the air conditioner's on. So what do? We start it, the fan's on high, the air conditioner's running. That turns on a cooling fan in the engine area. So our alternator output is almost to max, and you've started the car, which run down the battery. And if you don't drive far enough to support that, then if your battery's in a weak state. So how can CTEK, your company, help people with this problem?
So first of all, the consumer must get into a routine to take care of their battery so that they can get 3 times their battery life. If you live in certain parts of the country, your battery life may only be 30 months. That's nothing for an investment, right? So a CTEK charger you can set and forget. So if, let's say, you don't want to deal with having to remember to charge once a month, so get a set and forget maintainer. You just plug it in. You can put a quick connect in the car so you don't have to pop your hood all the time. And you just, when you pull in at night, you charge it and set it, forget it, take it off in the morning. And that routine of giving the smart charge that it needs, so it's never giving it more than it needs, so you'll never cook a battery, and it's giving it so that enough power so that it will stay topped off, charged, ready to go. You won't have to worry about a sulfating battery or a non-start. Or you maintain once a month. That's our recommendation, and our products allow for that. And everything is smart about it and safe about it. It's safe for the user, and it's safe for the battery and the vehicle electronics.
So the system that I saw, and then when I was doing my research on your website, I did look at this smart charger. First of all, it recognizes what kind of battery do I have in this car. Is it a glass mat battery, which is a new technology that's out there, and a lot of cars use that. And it's in a lot of vehicles that have the start-stop technology. So if your car shuts off at a stoplight, then it has a glass mat battery in it, most likely. Or is it a lead acid battery like you were talking about? Or is it
lithium?
Yeah, a lithium battery. Those are coming out too. So what we have is it's like a diesel truck. You have a repair facility or whoever, if you're handy enough to do it, hook one end to each side of a positive or negative connection, preferably at the battery or a post on the battery or a fuse panel. And then you run that wire out the end of the hood or in the grill area so that when you come in, click. And this is perfect for classic automobiles. And, I've had a restoration episode with my brother. We've had 2 of those, and we're going to have more. This is perfect for that. You drive this vehicle, twice, 3 times a month to car shows, and you have all this money invested in this vehicle, and it's just like, man, I keep putting batteries in my car because I was like, well, you got to put a shutoff in there, man, because it even though it is a classic vehicle, a battery sitting still doing nothing discharges itself.
It's the worst. It will lose power over time, and a lot of it happened to consumers, not just with classic cars, but during COVID, where automobiles were sitting that were typically driven daily or at least weekly, and they weren't because we were on shutdown and people went out for a walk. They didn't go for a drive for a long time. There were a lot of people that realize that they need to charge their batteries. So it's not just for classics, but if you have any vehicle sitting, your toys over season, even though you use it 3 months in a row, if it sits, you still need a maintainer on it, or you're going to be replacing batteries every season, and you don't want to do that. So absolutely. And you're talking about the CS Free. You could even take the CS Free to the show with you, to the classic car show, and maintain it while it's there. It'll top it off. It'll top off the battery remotely, so you don't need an outlet as long as the internal battery on the unit is fully charged.
So talk more about this CS Free. I was on your website and I watched the video on we're out biking, mountain biking, and I got back and my battery's dead. I have this thing in the back of the vehicle. It's not starting my vehicle. It's not providing extra power so that you can crank it and create low voltage and weird things to go on, because again, we've got all these modules in the vehicles and they do not like low voltage. And when you're cranking it over and it's only got 10 or 11 volts in it, modules don't like that. So talk a little bit more about this CS Free.
So the CS Free, it's an award-winning product, and we don't believe in jump starting because exactly what you said. So we gently boost. So we call it adaptive boosting. So let's say you're out biking, you come by the side of the road, and your vehicle is not ready to take you home when you want to go. If you put this adaptive charger, the CS Free, on the vehicle battery, in 15 minutes, it will have read what the battery power can accept without giving it a jolt as traditional jump starters or booster cables do.
Right.
And within 15 minutes, you can be on the road. You'll have not blown out an ECU. You'll have not damaged delicate electronics, and you'll have a full boost. And then when you get home, this same unit can serve as a charger or a maintainer. You can plug it in and fill up the internal battery on the unit, and you're good to go again. And also it has USB ports so that you can charge your, you don't have to take power away from your sockets, etc. You can charge your phone and your tablet, etc., because it's a power bank as well.
Right, and that's something that I talk about in the summer driving tips too. It's just like, it's not a fun situation when you get back to the car and you're like, oh, the battery's dead and my phone is dead too. This solves that, and it's a great product. Now, do you have, and we were talking a little bit about what types of batteries, and I know all of your products recognize what kind of battery, or you can select it.
You can select it. Yeah, it depends on the unit itself.
Yeah. So
but one more thing,
sure.
on the super award-winning, kind of, and wait, there's more. You can also use a solar panel to generate power into the unit and to charge the battery. So sorry.
Oh wow, that's really cool. That's cool, because you know what? If you think something's bad's going to happen and then it's dead, and you have the solar panel thing, you can just plug it in, wait for it to charge it up, and then you can charge your vehicle up, and then maybe get home and then figure out why the battery went dead. So exactly. Yes, and so you have stuff for all different kinds of stuff. Like back in the late 90s, I had a jet ski, and this poor thing had the most terrible battery in it. I'm telling you what, every time. And that's not fun either. I don't know if you've ever been on a jet ski and you get all the way across this big ass lake and it doesn't start.
And you can't write help in the water, right?
Right. So this product here, the CS Free, in that particular unit, you got a little trunk in the front. It fits in there, and you wire it you already got the wires hooked up to that battery. You plug it in there, it charges it, then you can start and get back. So talk about some of the things that your company provides for power sports kind of stuff, like motorcycles, jet skis, and snowmobiles and stuff.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that. We have a specific power sport unit that works on any kind of 12-volt battery, and it has a lithium capability as well. And we're finding more and more, especially on motorcycles, where they're moving to lithium. So this unit would be able to do exactly what you're talking about. This one does need a wall outlet, so you would have to plug it into a garage or into let's say you're at the lake, and I know that there are power banks there, and you would be able to go ahead and do that. We suggest that you also get one of our Quick Connect, and we have a comfort indicator, which is kind of a stop sign way of working things. So it has red, a little indicator that you put on to see if you need a charge or not. Red you could leave it permanently on the battery. And if you have a secondary battery, then you would know when it would need a charge as opposed to guessing. So right. Red means you have to charge, and amber means that caution, you better think about charging, and green means you're good to go. So you would always be able to glance at your battery just from across the room to see if you needed to put a charger on it or not. So you wouldn't get stuck in the lake. You'd know before you left that you you should charge the night before.
Now, does your products have technology to recognize if this little battery is no longer good and you should go get a new one? Maybe.
It when you're charging, it will give you an error, and if it won't take a charge, then something's wrong.
Okay,
And
yeah,
so
because
yeah.
now I ride dirt bikes and I've got a Honda CRF 450. Mine's a kickstart. Mine's old enough to have a Kickstarter on it. They don't have Kickstarters on them anymore. They have Kickstarter. They have starters and batteries. So if it dies, you're push starting it or you're doing something different. So, and we ride quite a ways out, and if your battery is dead out on the trails, then that can pose a big problem. So,
So throw a CS free in your backpack.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, and again, it's some of the things that we don't think about until it doesn't start. and
Yes, and that's why the indicator is really helpful, because let's say you don't think about it, this will actually be blinking at you to tell you, you know what, you should charge.
Right. So I know we were talking about jump starting, and you were talking about that's something you don't want to do. What's your opinion on that?
You should not jumpstart. And that's why we came out with an adaptive boost, because we have a lot of car storage, and they're all premium. They're concierge style white glove facilities, and they'll get called out to one of the clients' homes, and then I've got this classic car. It's worth $1 bajillion, and I need you to come pick it up and store it for me for a while. Well, I get out there and the car doesn't start. So what do? Well, you're not going to take this $1 bajillion car and run a risk of jump starting it. So this adaptive boost is the way to do it, because it will never give the battery more power than it can take. And it's a much safer way to do it. So jump starting in an absolute horrific situation because you have to get off the road and there is no other alternative, that's about the only time I would do it. Other than that, if you can avoid doing it, don't.
Right. And I've actually seen these booster packs backfire on used car lots or people that use them, right? So we had a customer, I'll tell you this story really quick. And we had a customer a few months ago who put it on backwards, and blew a lot of stuff. And it was just not a fun situation to try and get through, because we were like, oh, he blew the main 100 amp fuse on the battery. Okay, well, he blew that, and then they blew a bunch of fuses in the other fuse panel that decided to blow for whatever reason, because they blew before the main fuse blew. And then because they jumped it backwards like that, they blew out the engine computer, and it was a mess, because it was a Hyundai, and no parts are available, and we had to send the one that was in it out to get repaired, and that took a month and a half. So it was just a mess. So
ouch.
So,
and then there's danger to the user, right? The person who's jump starting, because a battery has a lot of power in it. You do something wrong and you're not wearing eye gear, etc., which typically you don't travel. You may,
yeah,
but the average person doesn't.
right.
And so that's, you have to really be careful.
Yeah, and I've seen a battery blow up, and it's not a fun situation, because I had a technician at the dealership who was working on something, and he had put the battery on the battery charger before he went to lunch, and to try and get a battery to check the charging system after he got back from lunch. And he moved the cables, and the spark and the little hydrogen was just laying there, and boom, acid was all over him, the car. We had to wash his eyes out. And let me tell you, that's not been around long enough to see a lot of things. And that's something that you don't want to do. And the technology that your company has, to where it says, hey, this is what we're going to put in it. And the CS free just says, we're just going to put this much in because it's not going to create any sparks. It's already hooked up. We can just do this like this. And then the maintainers, you've already got them in there, and it plugs in like you're, like it's a diesel truck and you're plugging it in to warm it up in the wintertime. It's so simple. And I was just really impressed with that part of it. Because I'm like, this would be perfect for my C10 truck, because, the car show is once a month, the last Friday of the month, all summer long. So that's how much it gets driven.
Yeah, exactly. And from a shop perspective or a heavy do-it-yourselfer, that for power supply, so you don't lose not only the annoying settings like your radios and things like that, but important settings that you don't want to have to reprogram tires, etc. You have to have a power supply, and we make chargers that have power supply modes also in our 7 amp and our 25 amp chargers. And that's very important too, because not all shops have a routine of putting a charger on as soon as the car pulls up, and you really should.
Right. And the other day I was doing, because I did a lot of drivability work, and what that means, I guess, in shop talk is I'm the guy that did the check engine lights. Okay, so a lot of times I'm changing these modules, right? And they always say, put the battery charger on it to maintain the level of the battery while you're programming. Because if the programming stops while you're uploading the information, you just have a $600 to $900 brick in your hand that used to be whatever module you're trying to program, because you've locked it up and it's no longer any good. So tell people where they can get your product. How do we do it?
At smartercharger.com.
At smartercharger.com. So get on your internet, take a look and see. I'm going to type it in here right now. Smartercharger.com. And what do you know? Oops, if I could spell.
And if you purchase a CS free, you can get a free carrying case for it.
And that's the portable one, so it's on the left as you hit the landing page there, and you want to view it. And you're right, it's in there.
Yeah. And our number one selling charger in the line is our MXS 5.0, which is a 4.3 amp charger. And we're talking about temperature here. That has a temperature sensor, so it actually accommodates the ambient temperature, so you're maximize the potential of your charge, because there are different charging effects when you charge in cold versus hot weather. This allows it to be nice and even no matter what the ambient temperature is.
And they're amazingly affordable. So, ladies and gentlemen, smartcharger.com. Bobbie, smartercharger.com. I'll get it right. So, Bobbie, thanks for being on the show. It was great to have you on here. You've got a ton of information, and we've covered a lot of stuff. And, I guess the takeaway for me is I'm just going to get one of these for my truck, and when I come in the garage, it's going to get plugged in, so I don't have to spend. Batteries aren't cheap.
No.
It's like $200 for I priced one out for a customer, and they were like, "What? How much is it?"
And you can get, if you charge and maintain on a regular basis, you can get 3 times the average life of the battery.
So if you're talking, batteries for your car, the lead acid one is the most inexpensive one. The glass mats are even more, and these lithium ones too are even more. So again,
and then you talk marine batteries, right? Those are deep cycle. Those are costly as well.
Yeah, the 24 series and the 27. I have a travel trailer, and mine is. Yep, I needed to replace that, and that was a very expensive battery too. And if you got a motorhome, this is a perfect setup, because if you got a motorhome, a classic car, or something like that, I might invest in this CX5 5.0 MXS 5.0. Yep.
MXS 5.0. Yep. And we also have a DC-DC setup so that if you do go camping or you're off-road, uh, you can, this is a power management system. So you'll see that out on Smarter Charger as well. And all the power comes from the battery and actually manages the service and the secondary battery and the consumers within it. So you never lose power on your key, your starter battery while you're, powering up your margarita machine and your party lights. So it manages
Right, exactly.
where the power should go.
Or you're trying to raise the tongue with the electric tongue jack, you know what I'm saying? It's like you unplug from the truck and I just got to level it out. It's like, rrr. I was like, oh, bummer. So I plugged that in. Well, the 12-volt converter in the camper is supposed to keep that battery charged. Well, it's not doing a very good job because it doesn't work. So again, Bobbie, thank you for being on the show. We appreciate having you on, and maybe we'll have you on the show one more time.
That's great. Thanks, Matt. And thank you for what you're doing for the industry. It's really great that we pass the word on for helpful tips to keep everybody safe.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of All Automotive. Big thanks to Bobbie DuMelle for being on the show today. I didn't know she was a teacher. That's interesting. Anyway, we talked about the CS Free, the wireless battery charger, replenisher, a 4-in-1 tool. And we also talked about this MXS 5.0, the temperature-sensitive battery charger, the smarter battery charger. Again, folks, it's smartercharger.com. I'm Matt Clausen, your host of the All Automotive Podcast. Until next time, keep the greasy side down.